Hi, hello, and welcome back. Or if you are new here, welcome. My name is Heather. This is Miss Finn. And this video is all about my 9th and 10th week of treatment with Spravato. Spravato, or esketamine, is an FDA-approved treatment for treatment-resistant depression that's derived from part of the ketamine molecule. It's a dissociative anesthetic, meaning it causes dissociation, and I also have a dissociative disorder. So in this series, I share my experiences and tips and tricks that I learn along the way, and my overall progress as I undergo this treatment. I'll put my list of tips and tricks up here real quick for you to screenshot if you'd like. And in my week 3 video, I go in depth as to why each of these things are on the list, so be sure to check that out if you haven't already. Side note, I am going to record a video of just my tips and tricks so that I don't have to keep referring you guys to my week 3 video, but for now, that's where you can find the in-depth explanations. I like to begin these videos with a recap of what my week was like outside of treatment and any improvements or setbacks that I've noticed with my depression symptoms. But if you want to just skip to the treatment, that's fine. I'll put a timestamp here and in the description, so you can do that if you'd like. Well, guys, it finally happened. Fall is here. Boy, did I luck out this year, with summer extending into mid-October, but obviously that couldn't last forever. And with the arrival of autumn comes all of my fears and anxiety that my seasonal depression is going to come back with a vengeance. For those of you who don't know, seasonal affective disorder, or seasonal depression, is depression that occurs at the same time every year. It's typically seen in climates with less sunlight during certain times in the year, like the Pacific Northwest, where I live. The weather change coupled with daylight savings time ending in early November means that we suddenly get a third of the sunlight that we do during the summer, and it rains on average 20 to 25 days out of the month. I would say it's more like every day, but what do I know? And you really do see a change, not only in how you personally feel, but in how everyone else goes about their day and interacts with each other. A lot of short fuses this time of year. At my last treatment, my PHQ-9 score was still 3, which the weather was still really nice, so not really that surprising. But the following week, fall came. The weather went to shit, but I still felt fine. I've talked before about how one of the big improvements I've noticed in the last month or so is that I can still concentrate and do things long after my second dose of Adderall has worn off. I also have ADHD. That Thursday and Friday, I was able to help my boyfriend clean and organize his shop in the evenings, so long after my second dose of Adderall had worn off. And I was really surprised at how well I was able to do it. It is 9:47 p.m. And we just organized this whole area. And I was able to do it. And it felt really good to be able to show up for him in the kinds of ways that I want to now. So I did that Thursday and Friday after spending the day editing a video. And then on Saturday, I did something pretty big for me. Earlier in the week, my boyfriend had asked me if I could help him pick up a truck that he bought and drive his car back home, which was about 80 miles. For the last few years, I've driven maybe 5 times. It's just one of those things that I really struggle with now, but I won't go into all of that. This was actually something he had asked me to do before I started Spravato, and man, I was not happy about it. Instant panic and dread. And with my dissociation, it can even be dangerous. So I knew it wasn't going to go well. Thankfully, I ended up not having to do it that day. However, just that hour or so of thinking that I was going to have to messed me up the entire rest of the day. So finally the time came to go pick up this truck. And earlier in the week, my boyfriend had asked me if I could help him do it. And I said yes, without hesitation, because I felt like I could. And I didn't have any of the dread or anxiety in the days leading up to it. It just didn't feel like a big deal. Oh, hi.
What about you guys?
Polish.
Miss Finn, you already got a treat.
Counting in my head right now. On Julius. Exact Mr. Julius. Sure. We've got the exact facts. Dude, it gets so Attila the Hun, before Jesus or after?
Hey Finn, it's not that kind of drive-through. God, those sticks are planted.
You gonna need a pop cut?
Big moves today. I am about to drive for 2 hours. I have not really driven much in the last few years, and definitely haven't driven that far in a really long time. I don't have the same kind of anxiety about it as I did before Spravato, so fingers crossed. My boyfriend is driving home a truck that he just bought that found out probably won't make it. So this might have just turned into an all-day thing. Hopefully not. All right, Pug, time to strap in. On the road again. I knew that was gonna happen. We are about to go up a very steep hill. Scott just called and informed me that this is going to be the test, whether or not this truck is going to make it home. All right, fingers crossed. Crossing your paws. All right, he is maintaining speed. That's a good sign. In case you guys are wondering, no, I'm not looking at my phone. We're getting close to the top. I think we're good. We made it! We made it, Finn. Woo! I did it, you guys. No problems at all. No anxiety or panic or dissociation. Nothing. I just felt normal. But then things changed very shortly after we got home. Basically, something happened and it left me feeling very disappointed and hurt and sad. I just felt terrible. And for the rest of the weekend, I could tell that I was irritable and just kind of in a bad mood for no apparent reason. That had me a little worried, but I thought, whatever, it'll pass. But in the week that followed, I didn't feel any better. Every day, I felt stuck in a bad mood, and that was very troubling to me. Even though it was barely perceptible, it was still the longest I'd felt like that since starting Spravato. And all week, I really struggled to get out of bed in the morning, which was a big change for me. Normally, I'm up as soon as my alarm goes off and in the kitchen starting breakfast before my boyfriend's snooze alarm goes off. I'd also started having really weird, vivid dreams again. Another thing I noticed was that little things like running errands or putting away the laundry felt like too much effort for me. So between the irritability, mood change, fatigue, and weird dreams all week, I started to really worry that I was losing the progress that I've made since starting Spravato. But instead of allowing my anxiety to focus on the negatives, I really made an effort to assess how I was doing overall and look for all of the signs that I was still doing just fine. Like still being able to make videos, which if I lose that, I'll know I'm in trouble. And I wasn't feeling down, depressed, or hopeless. Still felt like I had a future and cared about it. Wednesday evening, I had a huge craving for ice cream, and I walked to the store alone at night and got some. This is one of those things that's been just too difficult for me to do for the last few years. Like I just haven't had the energy, and also my anxiety would usually keep me from walking somewhere alone at night, even in a place like this where it is perfectly safe. I decided to do it. I'm also pretty stoked that I did, because today I've been kind of worrying if I'm starting to backslide, because I've noticed that some things that were easy to do for the last couple of months just kind of felt like I haven't had the energy for it, but maybe those were just situational things. I've never done that, even since starting Spravato. I know it seems really silly and insignificant, but to me, that was a huge sign that I'm still doing all right. And then on Thursday, I started my period. It is so damn unpredictable that I didn't suspect it at all. I could be wrong, but I feel like my PMS symptoms are getting a little worse each month. Thankfully, I'm not having my severe PMDD symptoms like I've had for years, so still a win in my book. And by Thursday evening, I felt quite a bit better. I'd really tried to get last week's video done by Thursday, but I massively underestimated just how long that was going to take to finish. But even though I didn't finish it by the time that I wanted to, it didn't feel like a major letdown now that I was feeling better. And actually, Sunday afternoon, I had finally finished the video. It was exporting, all good to go. And so I went into Canva to make the thumbnail for the video. And it crashed on me. It wasn't a site-wide issue. It was just my account. And as soon as that happened, I braced myself for the frustrated meltdown, but it never came. Before Spravato, that kind of setback or inconvenience would have sent me over the edge. But instead, I just kind of laughed about it, like the timing, and tried a couple of things to see if it would work. And it didn't. So I just shut my laptop and went and took a shower. I was pretty amazed at how that didn't send me into a Simon and Garfunkel downward spiral of darkness.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Like it definitely would have before Spravato. Even my boyfriend was shocked at how unbothered I was by it. While I was in the shower, I actually came up with a way that I could get around it. And even though it wasn't going to be perfect or the way that I'd wanted to do it, that just didn't feel like a big deal. So, whatever. Which the fact that I can even say that is just a testament to how much Spravato has helped me. Because everything used to be a big deal. After my shower, I checked Canva one more time, and it was working again. So, I was able to make the thumbnail that I wanted. To summarize, I don't think my depression is getting worse, even with the weather change, so that's good. Let's move on to the treatment. My PHQ-9 score went up 1 point, but my period, so not that surprising. I told Alice about how I'd been feeling and about my fears that maybe I was going backward instead of forward. She said it's pretty common for people to feel that way once they go down to once every other week, but that things still progress on schedule and to not worry about it. And she assured me that if for some reason I did start getting worse, that we could modify my treatment. She also put in a request for me to continue going once a month after I'm done with treatment, just to prevent a relapse. So fingers crossed that I get that. Because it had been 2 weeks since my last treatment, I was expecting it to be a little more intense than it's been the last few times. Usually the way that it goes after my third dose is that I'll go from feeling a little buzzed for a few minutes to rapidly not being able to hold a conversation. But to my surprise, it wasn't like that. Once I reached the point where I couldn't hold a conversation, I knew it was time to kick back and put on my playlist before I went full space cat. So I leaned back, closed my eyes, and almost instantly hit the sweet spot. For those of you who don't know, the sweet spot is what I call the ideal state for me during treatment. To me, it feels a lot like those first few moments after your alarm goes off in the morning and none of your thoughts or responsibilities of the day have entered your mind and your bed has never been comfier and you hit the snooze button and drift off to sleep. It's a lot like that, only I don't fall asleep. I just stay in this perfect, peaceful, pain-free cocoon of bliss. Something I may not have mentioned before is any pain that I'm in, which I almost always have some, goes away during treatment. Once I was all nestled and comfortable in the sweet spot, my childhood came spilling out. Not the trauma, thank God. At first, it looked like I was looking up at a ceiling while being wheeled through a hospital, and I wasn't freaked out or bothered by it at all, just observing. And actually, I'm just now realizing that may have been a childhood memory, because when I was 9, I broke my arm, and I had to have surgery. Oh my God, that's right! So, I broke my arm during my after lunch recess. So because I had just eaten, they couldn't put me under for surgery. Instead, just pumped me full of drugs. And I can still remember hallucinating during surgery that
I'm snuggled
was unicycling on a wire above me. And also seeing the train from Dream Master, which was one of my favorite video games as a kid, going up the wall and ceiling above me. There is a connection there. I'll get to that in a minute. So anyway, I was being wheeled through a hospital, and then the scene morphed into one where I was flying over the ocean at a high rate of speed. It reminded me of one of my favorite movies as a kid, which was Flight of the Navigator. I can't even begin to describe how much I wanted to fly a UFO when I was a kid. I wished that all of that would have happened to me.
Sit down, Navigator.
And then I was looking down at an island directly below me and then shot up into the sky. And I felt like I was moving around in all different directions. It felt like I was on the Scrambler ride, which also was one of my favorite rides as a kid. And then I remember feeling very fluid. And I don't know how to describe this next part, but I was in one of those underwater levels in Donkey Kong Country, which was cool because I always wished I could go there as a kid. I also remember being in the topsy-turvy level in Dream Master, my favorite video game as a kid, with the train that I hallucinated during surgery. And then I was in what looked like a scene from The Borrowers, yet another movie that I desperately wished I could be in and experience as a kid. I'm sorry I don't have the words to accurately describe a lot of this stuff, but I'm trying. And with each of these places I found myself in, I knew, for reasons I can't explain, that the purpose of going there wasn't to focus on what I was doing, which was nothing, but rather to experience how I felt being there. All of these things that I loved as a kid elicited a very specific and indescribable feeling for me. The best way I can describe it is it's like a combination of excitement and wonder and yearning. It felt like having my wildest childhood dreams realized. It was pretty cool. Unfortunately, pinballing around my childhood fantasies was interrupted when the tech had to come and take my blood pressure. Once that was over with, I resituated and closed my eyes and tried to get back to where I was and what I was doing. I was listening to my tried and true music, the music I always listen to during treatment, and I don't know why, but for some reason, it felt distracting to me. Like somehow it was preventing my brain from having the kind of experience it was trying to have. So I shut it off in favor of the soothing spa music coming from the TV with the nature scenes that's in every room. And at first, nothing really happened as far as seeing things. I was just in this blank space that felt really good. After a little while, I started to see the silhouette of trees against a red sky. And then the same stone wall for my third treatment with reality hanging out down in the corner appeared. I just stared at the wall, kind of waiting for something else to happen, but nothing did. Instead, I got very contemplative about my experience. And I'm not certain, but I feel like I may have arrived at a new phase or type of experience during treatment, because for the first month and a half, I would go from feeling kind of tipsy to blasting off into another dimension and then gradually return. And that's why my breathing exercises and guided meditations have been so crucial for me to keep me grounded and help me manage my panic and anxiety. And over time, it got increasingly easier to not have a panic attack, as long as I stuck to my routine. But I noticed that my week 8 treatment didn't feel super intense, and this one didn't either. I didn't blast off at all. I went right to the sweet spot and stayed there the entire treatment, effortlessly. I'm pretty sure I've heard that you can build up a tolerance to Spravato pretty quickly, so I wonder if maybe that's what's going on, because it felt a lot more like my first treatment at 56 milligrams. All of the good feelings, not turbulent or chaotic. So now I'm wondering if it might be a good idea to start exploring or experimenting during my treatments. Like maybe revisit the Ram Dass meditations. Both my therapist and Alice have said that people can have really transformative experiences during treatment. So I'm wondering if maybe I can do a bit of that now. I don't know. We'll see. That's pretty much all I did for the rest of treatment. I felt like I was somewhere deep inside of myself and so content and wanted to stay there forever. Actually, Alice came into the room to check on me at one point, and I heard her whisper to the tech, "Oh, she's sleeping." And I just thought, no, I'm not. But I could not be bothered to move or disrupt my reverie in any way. Not too long after that, though, I started to feel myself coming back to normal pretty quickly, kind of like waking up from a nap. I still felt peaceful, but now I was thinking of Miss Finn and my boyfriend waiting in the car for me, and that I was hungry and needed to use the bathroom, etc. So I decided to wake up I was surprised to see it had only been an hour and a half, and I was back to being pretty lucid. Afterward, I went home, or back to my boyfriend's place, and just chilled for a couple hours. I still waited 3.5 hours to take my Adderall, because I'd left 30 minutes early, and then I worked on the emotional support animal video, and had a normal rest of the day. And I felt good ever since. I think that does it for this video. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for me, please leave them in the comments and I will respond to them. I really mean it when I say it means the world to me to hear from you guys. I feel so fortunate to be able to share this experience with you guys and hear about your own successes, or that my videos have helped you have hope that you or a loved one can have success with this treatment, or even just that you enjoy or appreciate my videos. It really touches me and makes me feel like I'm doing something right and valuable, which I have not felt that way in years. And I owe that all to you guys. So thank you. If you liked this video or found it helpful in any way, please consider liking it. It does help out a lot. Make sure to subscribe if you want to keep getting these updates from me. And don't forget to turn on that bell icon so that you'll be notified every time I do post a new video. You can email me suggestions of what you'd like me to do a video about, and also follow me on Instagram. And with that, I hope you all have a great week, and I'll be seeing you next week with a different video, and in 2 weeks with another Spravato update. You got any parting words, Finn? Okay, bye.